Hagugui naizaku Hagwili na lovu Ipontu rason Nagaya kihidu Anaitai wika
Woo! All right. Buenas hafade todos hamzu buena hudzon. We are waiting for Senor Tom Bejado to join us for today's episode of Fanatsu. He was here in the Zoom room. We had some technical difficulties. And so we were just listening to Mungama Songan from Senora Tony Kitagua there. We're going to listen to another song while we're waiting for Senor Tom to rejoin the Zoom. Estegui, this is from Rose Martina Certeza. Oh, lo finet na guaha ad na YouTube ayat de istina lenatla. Esta zumaniente.
Da
All right. Ooh. Esta Zumaniente from Rose Martina Certeza. Senor Tom Bejado is still having trouble joining the Zoom room. Again, hold on 1 second. Let me see. Let me see what I can do. Let me play another song. So where I'm playing the music from, just to show you real fast, wanted to make sure that I share with everyone. If Angan Gaigyogi YouTube, and many of us are on YouTube, of course. But if you are on YouTube, then and you are not already subscribed to it, Atan por favor estina página. Check out this page. This is the Stelstar Productions page. And many years ago, they were uploading videos on there from albums, even karaoke sort of videos that they had made. They've actually started again to upload things to it. So for example, just last year, they put up some Rose Certeza songs. But if you go through it, you can find dozens of songs, Cha-Cha Mix, Jesse Bias, his songs from Wam on My Mind, music videos with Dan Pakaigui, the Cruz family, and so on. And so I'm going to play another one I'm going to play another song, and I'm going to reach out to Senor Tom to see if I can get him to, if we can figure out how to get him into the Zoom room so we can start and we can hear his stories about sort of, Enegi si senor. Okay, Maulet, Humalam. He has joined. And so, umatsetsatuns any audio. And so, buenas. No, trebia. And so, Pungan, while we are waiting, one of the things that I love about,
Okay.
Senor, buenas.
Man, I'm using my iPhone, okay?
Tadzagwa, senor.
Okay.
I don't understand all these technical glitches and
Yeah,
stuff.
I know, me too. I can read all these technical manuals on my keyboards and recording gear, but when it comes to iPhone, forget it.
And so I was just sharing the YouTube page for Stelstar Productions, and I was telling some of the people about those that you have worked with. And so it is a wonderful honor, Dunkluna Onra Estinai, that you have joined for Mes Chamorro to talk about sort of your many years in music, and music of all types, right?
Right.
Music, jazz music, classical music, Chamorro music. And so it's an honor to sort of for me to be here to listen to your story, but also for us to document this part of our recent history. And so, por favor, senor, go ahead and introduce yourself and get this started.
Okay. My name is Thomas Flores Bejado. I was born in Guam, raised in Tamuning, and I can talk about my early musical career briefly. I started playing in 1968 with when I was still in grade school with my buddy Tony Scrow, Carlos Yamzon, Marlon Inglagan. Our group was called Genesis 315. The first kind of music I played was rock. The Doors, Jimi Hendrix, Cream, Eric Clapton, and that's my first introduction into playing in a band. So then on, my dad ran a nightclub in Bejado called the Village Inn. Currently, it was now it's like it was Lee Garden. Now it's Cool Garden. So that's where I grew up playing music with a band called the Rhythm Gents, and I was only 13 years old. The rest of the boys, Frank Camacho, John Beneventi, David Lahan, they've all passed away now. They were in their 20s, but I was only 13. And I started playing with them. My dad really encouraged me to play with them, and it was kind of weird for a 13-year-old to be playing in a nightclub. But then once I started playing with them, the next year we were offered a tour to Japan in a show. So I ended up going with them. They're all Chamorros, but they don't know anything about Chamorro music. They only played rock and the popular music of the time. That was the period of 1969 to about 1971. Now, when I was I went to high school in FD, Father Duenas. And from 1972, 1973, I played with a very interesting band, because during those times, the popular groups were like Chicago, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. So we sort of emulated the band. We had a band named Never Mind the Name. It was with Jesse Bias, Dale Demian on saxophone, and he was the horn arranger. We had 3 horns, and it was a 9-piece group. That was really interesting. We didn't have many gigs. We just played for a few parties and all that. So then, after I graduated from high school, I ended up going to college in Grand Rapids, Michigan, for music education. And then when I came home for the summer, and now this is 1974, for 3 months I would play with my buddy again, Tony Scrow, in a group called Sundays. And we were, during that period, we played at the Cliff Hotel. And that was sort of like the happening place. Had a beautiful view of Agana and, a looping island, beautiful view. And when I came home that summer in 1974, my mom told me, she calls me Tommy. Tommy, there's this guy who's very popular. His name is JD Crutch. And I didn't pay much attention to that because I didn't know anything about Chamoru music, sort of ignorant about that. I didn't know there was a thing called Chamoru music. I knew there was a Johnny Sublime, but I never really got into that, So I guess at the time, JD was performing at a club called Cheap Charlie's behind the Tamuning Bank of Hawaii. I think that was the location at the time. But I didn't pay much attention to that. But during that same summer, 1974, I was asked to play by, what's his name? To play for Tropic Set. That was Frank Bucknell's band with Candy Taman. This was really, very legendary production. They were called Tropic Set, and with Frank Bucknell, Fangalinen, Candy Taman, J.R. Reyes, David Azuzu. And this is my first entry into playing Chamoru music. I didn't have a clue. I just heard the songs and started playing. This was with, it was Ike Chaprus who asked me to play it. Also at the time, Uncle Toad, Joe Cunningham, he was very instrumental in producing and really bringing Chamoru music out to the fore, right? And so you got to give Uncle Toad again a lot of credit, and Ike Chaprus as well, because they had a recording studio. So that's where a lot of people, Chamoru people, recorded their music, like Anta Brothers, Flora Baza, Mariana's Homegrown. That's where it all took place, up in Chalampago. So then going up to the next year, 1975, the summer again, when I came home from college, I played in a group called Flip Wop Brown. That's a sort of a derogatory, word for Italian. And that's with Tony Scrow, Carlos Laguardia, and the former, I guess, the director of the Guam Museum, what's his name, William Hernandez, Parks and Rec as well. And we really packed the name of the hotel was right next to Fiesta Resort. At the time, it was called the Kukui Hotel. And we packed that. I guess during that summer, what was going on in Guam was, I think we had a festback. We had a festback going on. So a lot of our clientele in the nightclub were like people from Tahiti, from the southern South Pacific Islands, like that. So that was a beautiful experience, seeing those people, which is like really strange to see for us. And then going on to the next year, this is like a really serious group in 1976, 1977, Bang Gang, again with Tony Scrow, my brother Tony Bejado, Lingo Borja, Carlos Yamzon. And this band went on to Hawaii. We ended up playing in Hawaii for about 2 years. And then we broke up because, some of us wanted to go back to school. and I did. But I stayed back for a while. I ended up playing with a serious jazz fusion group, 1977, 1978, Insight. And then I went on to another jazz trio called Forte, and that was quite popular in Hawaii. Okay, I went back to school again in Berkeley because I was going to school in Berkeley, and then I'd always take off because I'd be getting calls from this band leader. He's sort of like my sensei maestro, um, Eddie Ramirez. He played flugelhorn. I was 20, he was 40. And he was sort of getting depressed being at that age at the time. He thought I was really old. He was an old man at 40. But anyway, I played with a group called Forte, 1978, 1979, with Eddie Ramirez. I went back to school in Berkeley and then came back home to Guam, 1980, 1983, and formed a group called the Zaz Band. And we would play at Daiichi Hotel. We had a contract like that for a year. And on and off, we'd be playing up at Anderson for the Top of the Rock NCO Club. And then from there on, I started dabbling with recording music. And I started out with like a cassette 4-track recorder, really primitive thing. And from that, I started doing, Jesse Bias asked me if I wanted to arrange the songs that he had. He had left the Casuals already in Hawaii, and they were still performing at the time, but he came back to Guam and he gave me the songs that he wanted to record. So I started working on them and trying out different things on my 4-track recorder. And that's how I came up with the arrangements for some of his legendary songs like Cha Cha Chamoru, Guam on My Mind, Ali Fan, Pescador. No, Pescador came later. I'm sorry. Sirena. There you go. And that was a very popular album. That was 1985, Jesse Bias. And that was fantastic. I really enjoyed the arrangement process for that. It was kind of strange because it wasn't really in a Chamorro cha-cha style. I sort of used some of my jazz influence, more progressive style. So that was sort of like more progressive Chamorro kind of music. And from there on, Jesse Bias, I ended up, after that, I think, I'm not sure, maybe Mike Phillips will confirm this with me. 1987, I recorded his group called Chamoru. And it was a Mike Phillips, what's his name? Fred Bordalio and John Bloss. They were the key songwriters for the group Chamoru. They actually had a band, but they weren't really, tight and all that. So this album Chamoru was really groundbreaking because Mike wanted to make it known that it's the first ever Chamoru CD. Now, CD technology, was really primitive at this time. A lot of people still didn't have CD players. They were still using cassette. So this was really innovative, revolutionary, and they were sort of radical revolutionaries. Okay. So a lot of the songs that you hear on the CD, are sort of rebellious kind of songs. And it's fantastic. Up to now, I still hear them. And even right now, currently, really quickly, I'm playing with the Radiants. And then they brought, someone suggested playing some of their songs. And then like, what? That's sort of like, wow. I went back and tried to listen to the music that we did. And it was really something. The arrangements were, I'll have to say the arrangements are.
I love that album. I love that album. And just, I wanted to ask real quickly before you continue.
Sure.
So that was the first CD, Chamorro Music CD?
Very first CD, Chamorro CD.
Was it also released on cassette or vinyl or just on CD?
I'm not sure. It probably was also on cassette. I'm not sure. Okay. I have to refresh my memory with, I'll have to ask Mike Phillips, attorney Mike Phillips, like, But all I remember was that, yeah, it was ground. It was really something new,
Oh, Bungan.
novel, and you know, really broke into the new technology of CD, digital. There you go. That's what it is now. It's
Bungan.
the digital recording process now. Now we're into
Bungan.
this whole new technology of digital recording, and that went really well. A lot of the arrangements, I'll have to say, were quite good, but they were what do you call it? Uh, I don't like to say dictated, but they were guided by Mike, Fred, and John. The way I put the arrangements together, you hear that music, it's again sort of progressive Chamorro, sort of progressive and not your standard Chamorro kind music, till I met Frank Bocongo. Okay. Now, Frank Bocongo said to me, I knew him already from the Tropic set, but then he came to me because I started a recording studio, and he wanted to record some of his music. So then he told me, he says, okay, I'm going to teach you how to record Chamorro music. And then, the thing about Chamorro music, is that you don't want to put too many like orchestrated sounds like horns, violins, the whole, orchestra kind of thing. Chamorro music is simple, like country music. Drums, guitar mainly, guitar, bass, drums, a little keyboard. Okay, not too many fancy, instrumentation. Just country music. That's what he referred it to. Because at the time he was sort of like the cha-cha man, cha-cha master, and then also Tristy Zoo is his claim to fame. That's the number one hit, Tristy Zoo. But at the time I recorded a cassette production called Katrina. And the whole process when you record cassette is that you record the cassette, and then it was mastered on a 1/4-inch reel-to-reel tape. And then you go off to the Philippines and you hook up with the duplication company that will convert that master into hundreds of cassettes. So that was the process. So I ended up going with him to Manila to learn the whole scheme of getting our music produced on cassette. So he taught me that. And then from there on, I started to produce that's when I started to produce other Chamorro artists, such as Tony Kittigua was one of the first ones I started in like 1990. Okay. And I spent a lot of time on her music because a lot of her songs were original. So I wanted to, get sort of like a new kind of hook to her music, like Munga Masangan, Somebody Loves You. And I think I don't know that Somebody Loves You was also copied by the group Capena. Somebody Loves You, da 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 da. But I think she sang that in totally in English. But Tony Kittigua was one of my very first introductions to producing a local Chamorro artist, because she never had a cassette production. It was cassette for her. So that was her first recording ever. From there on, I started with the Remy and Jocelyn Tovis, and they were really popular after I produced them. They became really, so I started to feel, the rewards of recording Chamorro music. And at the time, who was really integral in the arrangement of the, this country style ensemble was like Frank Magellan Santos on guitar. He was brilliant. He was like a maestro in playing country guitar. And Kid Conception knows that as well. He's passed away already, but very good friend, very good musician. Next on, I started recording Mr. Boya Kitsucho. Now, with Boya,
Biba Boya.
yes, Biba Boya. Boya was really, I call him a gentleman. He was a very smooth guy, beautiful voice, beautiful baritone, luscious voice, and his songs went, really well. I really enjoyed my time with Boya, and we became really good buddies from there on. Next, Larry Saralu, after having had produced Don Ikitagwa, the Saralu sisters' father, Larry Saralu, another legendary Chamoru recording artist from Saipan, came into my studio and said, "Can you record my daughters?" And they were called the Saralu sisters. So I did. And from there on, it did pretty good. They did really well. At that time, too, I recorded. This guy was prolific and a fantastic person. JJ Conception. Okay. With JJ, I recorded 5 CDs now, 5 CD productions. So we're into the CDs now with JJ. And like I said, he was a prolific songwriter. He refused to copy and translate English songs. He just wrote songs that he created himself. And, I got to hand it to JJ as far as like being totally original Chamorro music, songwriter. JJ Conception. And from there on, I ended up recording a group from Rhoda, and they were awesome. They're called Island Breeze. And with Island Breeze, what came out of that is you see a lot of people performing this song, Islas Marianas. One person that does it really well, his name is, I saw him as Fluffy Keza Hafa on YouTube. He does a good rendition of Islas Marianas. Now, Island Breeze, the 2 members of that group is Joe Mesa, who was originally from Agate, and Frank Maglonia, fireman extraordinaire from Rhoda. I really enjoyed recording them because my reward after recording them here in Guam was going to Rhoda, eating legal fanihi and azuzu. Okay, sorry about that, Fish and Wildlife. Sorry, dispensa zulay. Okay, yeah, fanihi, my favorite, because when I was growing up, we didn't know any better. It was always on the table, okay? Fanihi, azuzu, binadu, and other non-mentionable foodstuffs. Okay, so from Island Breeze, during that period, this was really something now, very special, different from Chamorro music. Dr. Catherine Uggan, Dr. Catherine Bordalio Uggan, brother of sister of Ricky Bordalio. She came into the studio to record her Chamorro to English language lessons on cassette. So this is the first time that a Chamorro language was recorded, and it was quite intense. She had gotten it really down pat, and we produced that on cassette at the time. Dr. Catherine Uggan. From there on, okay, going into the 2000s, I started recording. I recorded Kin's son's group called First Issue. Casey Conception, phenomenal songwriter. Okay, 2 songwriters out of that group is Alan Nahaoleva and Casey Conception. Now, you still hear some of the songs from First Issue. One of the major popular songs there is Chamarita Girl. Okay, the hit song that came out of that during that time, out of that CD, out of the time, was Move Your Body, Shake Your Body, whatever, that song. The one who really made that popular in the community was Mr. Ray Gibson, Power 98. He really, made that song viral in the community. So props to Mr. Ray Gibson, and he really supported all the productions that I produced during this period. Okay, during this period, I recorded a lot of the Chamorro cultural groups, such as Frank Rabone's Tau Tau Tano, Dr. Benji Santiago's Natibu, and then Gumapalu Li'i, and then just something from talking about Gumapalu Li'i. One of the dancers there was Jeremy Cepeda. And recently, maybe I think it was like about a year and a half ago, maybe, I recorded his songs, 7 songs. And at the time, I wasn't really in recording because we were still in the COVID quarantine kind of situation. But my good friend, Mr. Tommy Paris, Tommy Maclonia Paris, gave me samples of Jeremy's music. And then when he told me about Jeremy, I wasn't really interested in doing like chanting music because, but when I heard Jeremy's song demo, I said, whoa, let's go. Let's go. Let's do it. So Jeremy, again, his musical style is really groundbreaking because from his Chamorro, chant lyrics, it turned into really beautiful songs. And then I was also sort of free to put in my 2 cents in the arrangement process. And for me, that means a lot of drum work. Now, one of the hardest things to do in the studio when you don't have a drummer is producing drums. The way we used to do drums before was called MIDI, MIDI. And we would, work on that. It was quite an intense process to do. But later on, I started using what they call live drum loops, where you just throw it into like a garage band situation. You just throw it into the timeline, and it'll play along with the speed of the music that's brought in. So that's Jeremy Cepeda. But that's recent. We'll go back again. Now, during that period, I also recorded Miss Rose Martinez Certeza. Now, she is really a Chamorro, again, diva singer, like Miss Antoinette Kitagua, Tony Kitagua, okay? They became really close friends, I was so happy about that they were able to get along. The next group that I recorded after First Issue, because this guy heard First Issue from the little island of Rota, Luta, Mr. Let me look for his name. Walter Maclonia.
Walter
Okay,
Maclonia.
yeah, Walter the man. Okay, this boy is another prolific songwriter and really good videographer. He does brilliant music videos that you can watch on YouTube. Excellent guy, Walter Maclonia. Yeah, I did him. I think I did 2 productions with him. Yeah, props to Mr. And he's still doing stuff up to now in Saipan. That's where he's at now. Saipan. Walter Maclonia. Okay, during this period after the 2000s, I did the first ever Laserdisc Chamorro Karaoke for UM Electronics. And then another person I recorded during this period was Flora Baza Kwan. This is her second production called E Chamorro. And I think some of the songs that Chamorro was written by Frank Bokmo Pangilinan. He assisted her in translating some of the English songs. What he did was she wanted to do a counter to Bokmo's Tristizu. to Maguftu. Okay, from I am sad to I'm happy now. So that was a beautiful production with Flora. She's wonderful to work with. Another group I produced who was really, really fantastic is a group called Desha. And the reason for that name Desha was because it was a niece auntie duo, Debbie Salas and Chardonnay, I guess Salas too. And these girls were funny because I think we had just gone through a storm, Chataan, I think, and they were living in a tent in Mokfuk, Delido. So, and then I offered this thing called a Me on CD program where you come in and record 3 songs on CD for $100. So they came in, and when they first came into the studio, they came in first, then they ran away. They were scared. But later on, they came back in, and my God, they were like awesome singers. I produced 3 CDs with them, plus a Christmas production. They redid Tony Kitigua's Munga Masangan. So that's a more updated version of Munga Masangan from Geisha. Now, another one really revolutionary boy here is Mr. Ben Lam Lamson Nicholas. Okay. Lam Lam feels back home. Now, when he came in, it was really raw, very raw. But what I noticed about this guy was he was very original, and he had a really nice rock voice, sort of gravelly voice like that. But he did really well. Ben Lam Lamson Nicholas. Another one who I did, and not to make many people know about him, but I really love this guy. He passed away. Anki Boy Kitagua. He's a really nice person. Again, I recorded Jocelyn Tovis on a solo album of hers. Also during this period, I was brought out to Saipan to re-record Alexandro Sablan for some of his songs that he had made popular, like I Need to, When My Ring or something like that. I'm not saying it right. And also during this period, I also produced another karaoke production called the Magic Sing Mic Karaoke Chip, which is a 70 Chamoru song chip that you slot into. It's an EPROM, EPROM chip that you slot into this microphone called a Magic Mic. Now, this production, 70 songs to arrange and produce is like, wow, it took me about 2 months to do. So that was quite a task.
Wow. Senor,
Yeah.
are there any more Chamoru karaoke laser discs like that? I would love to get one.
There was
I would
a
love to get one.
after the first one, there's a second one.
Mm.
And then I did the second one, and then there's a third one, which I didn't do. But yeah, there's a third one.
Mm.
And today, I noticed, because when I play with the Radiants at Good Times, I noticed that some of the songs I recorded, like for example, the Desha version of Munga Masakan, was a karaoke now. It's a karaoke on the screen. I was really surprised because I never produced a karaoke version of Munga Masakan. But because of today's technology, you can remove the original voice. Okay. It's crazy. You can remove the original voice, and all you have is just the backing tracks to that song. So that's where I heard it sung at Good Times. And somebody went out of their way to even print out the lyrics on screen so that you can see it. So I was really surprised at that because I didn't do that. But because of today's new technology, anything's possible now.
No,
Really.
For those
really
of you who are watching, put a comment if you remember the Magic Mic or if you remember the Chamoru karaoke. And Senor Tom, I should mention that we have some people that are tuning in. Your niece, Maria Hernandez,
Okay.
is watching, and she says, Biba, Uncle Tom.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then
She's
former Senator Luis Borja is also
all right.
watching. And she
Yeah.
says she gave a list of her favorite artists. And if you're watching, remember, put in some of your favorite Chamorro musicians, put in some of your Chamorro favorite songs into the comments. And Sarah Thomas Netadog says, Tom is a
Oh,
music icon.
wonderful. I love her. I love her. She's wonderful. Sarah, Luisa, and Maria. Maria is really something else. She's a force of nature.
Okay, Senor, this has been amazing. Do you have any songs that you want to go over? Because we've got some questions from viewers.
Yeah, I just want to mention another artist, couple
Por
more
favor,
artists.
go ahead.
Okay, my very, very, very good friend, buddy Gatsung to the max, is from Saipan, originally from Rhoda, but now a judge in Saipan, Mr. Perry Inus. During his early recording times, he was known as Perry Borja. And then another lady who has a beautiful, sweet voice is Marjorie Cruz Richards. And another group that they were sort of like a Samoan, Hawaiian, Micronesian band, mixed plate with Soki Malawafiti. Okay. That's another group that I did. Oh, here's another one that's awesome. Tinapu. Okay. Really awesome. Tinapu. Oh, out of Saipan. But the original singers from Guam, Kinsella out of Agate. Fantastic. Okay. That's about it. So if there's any questions like that.
This has been amazing. It takes me back to, because when you shared your story, I felt a little bit similar, not because I'm a musician or anything, but you mentioned that you came late to Chamorro music, that it wasn't something that you understood early on.
Right.
And, that was me too, is that I didn't start listening to Chamorro music until I was in my 20s.
Okay.
And this was the time when, all of the bands that you were mentioning, these are the CDs that I had. And so can you talk more about what that was like, sort of making that transition? So when you were young, did you hear some of the Manamku? Did you hear them singing some of the old traditional songs, like the Kantan? I know that some people
Kantan Chamorita.
The Kantan Samrito or the Kanton Balotsu, sort of when you're did you have any relationship to those sorts of things too, or was it kind of, because I know at that time there was a big push for for Americanization, American music. And so can you talk a little bit more about your experience back then?
Okay. Sorry. I just had a delivery. Okay. Yeah, it wasn't easy getting into Chamorro. The only way I could make sense of it was through my classical and jazz background. Again, going back to Jesse Bias, that's first introduction to Chamorro music. But for me, that wasn't really like Chamorro music arrangement. When I started getting into a more Chamorro kind of sound was doing Frank Bokung.
Senor, I mean when you were younger, younger. So like when you first started, because when you mentioned you first started playing in like 1968, right?
Right.
And so, at that time, there was so many young Chamorro musicians that were in bands. There was battles of the bands, right?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Very common back then. But when I've spoken to artists from that time, Chamorro music was not something young people were interested in.
That's true.
They didn't really know it. And so there was only a few groups that were doing Chamorro music, like the Tzatfris brothers, for example, or Mike.
Right.
So when you were young, what was your relationship? Did you hear like your older family members singing in Chamorro, or was it just not on your radar at all?
No, not at all. Zero. My first introduction to Johnny Sablon was, I used to live in Tamuning, my grandfather's property, and our family barbershop, Little Tommy's Barbershop in Tamuning. That's where I grew up. I grew up there. We lived in a Quonset hut there. And then Johnson Theater at the time was down the road. I don't know if you know about Johnson Theater. It was the theater at the time to go to. On the way there to watch a movie, a matinee, during that time we had matinees in the afternoon. I would pass by this neighbor's house. They were the Quintaniza family. Now, when I passed by that house, what I'd be hearing coming out of their loudspeaker was Johnny Sablon. So that was the first time I ever heard Chamoru music, and it was strange. It was strange. It was like from Mars, from another planet. I couldn't relate to it. Yeah, I couldn't relate to it because we're listening to all the pop songs at the time during that time. Yeah, and yeah, I guess I knew Mike Laguana from. He was like a Boy Scout master in Tamuning. So every time we had processions like that, he's always directing traffic and all that stuff. Mike Laguana. But I know that he was famous for the, Kanta Babui song. But other than that, I never gave it much thought. Or after that, I just continued going on with, my education and practicing my piano, because that was what was really important for me at the time.
Okay,
I hope that answered your question.
Oh yes, Sidrus Mansi.
Okay.
And I also wanted to ask too, because looking to the future, Senor, because you were there when Chamoru music was transitioning from vinyl, and which very few artists released vinyl albums. Cassettes made it easier, and then
Yes.
CD made it much easier for people to get their music out there. And so, you were part of that transition, helping people. When you look to the future, though, because the Chamoru music in the way that it was 20 years ago, it's no longer there. People don't put out albums. The younger generation, cannot speak Chamorro, and doesn't necessarily. Very few people perform in the language, and so you being somebody who is a pioneer in the past, what suggestions or what thoughts do you have on how we could use music to keep the language alive, to keep the identity alive? Because I can tell you that Chamorro music has done so much in terms of keeping that alive. I mean, thinking about CDs that you made, which can travel to every part of the world, which can play in the background when you're cooking at a party, which you could share with others when you talk about your island home. And so what ideas or what reflections do you have for Chamorro music into the future?
I think that at this time, there are young, not kids, but young, like maybe high school kids who are sort of dabbling in Chamorro music, but what they're doing is they're just singing, a lot of the Johnny Sablon songs and a lot of the more popular JD Crush songs like that, which is great. It's great. Like, for example, I always refer back to Fluffy Kezahafa, because he covers everybody, man. And he's doing a great job at that, making it likable to his contemporaries. So I really give him a lot of credit for that. And then I don't have many young people coming to my studio anymore to record Chamorro music. It's more like island music. But there is an interest, though, and I really give the DOE Chamorro language division a lot of credit for furthering the language with our younger grade school kids and I guess middle school. And with Mr. Ronald Laguana, before now retired. So, and he, I knew Ronald ever since he was a little boy. I never knew he could speak like that. He's like really, uh, you know, uh, beautiful. And I guess that comes from, I guess he heard that from his mom and dad. They probably spoke to him in Chamoru in the house. So a lot of props for Mr. Ronald Lagwanya. Yes, sir. Yeah, I would really like to encourage more young people to sing Chamorro and even try to attempt to sing Chamorro, and then maybe get, if they don't know how to write the lyrics, get somebody to help them. And if they want to ask me who can help them, I have a lot of people. I have a lot of people who can translate as best they can English to Chamorro. I have a lot of people. And one of the really good one of the really good Chamorro lyricists is, like, of course, Jeremy Cepeda. And then also man, I'm losing my memory from Tano. See, San Nicolas there. I forget his first name. Plays guitar.
Vince and St. Nicholas?
Yeah, that's my buddy Vince San Nicolas. He's awesome. Whenever I need help in translating something, I chime in to Mr. Vince San Nicolas Tano.
No, thank you, Senor. That's a very good suggestion. And I encourage those of you who are listening, if you're especially if you're younger, record in Chamorro, try it, and then work with your grandparents or others, or maybe your grandparents or your aunts and uncles tease you, then reach out to somebody who's gonna help you, because I can tell you that many and so you may be familiar as well, that many of the people who started recording Chamorro in the 70s maybe have been fluent, but they were also learning Chamorro. Like Johnny Sablon was learning Chamorro when he was recording in Chamorro. And
exactly.
Did you have any young people over the years who are in a similar situation where they wanted to record in Chamorro, but they weren't fluent, so they were taking a risk?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That would be Desha, Debbie Salas. They're not like Chamorro speakers, but their parents spoke Chamorro. And I guess they would get help. I don't know. They probably had family do some of their English translations. I'm looking at my list of people who have recorded, who don't have Chamorro as their, they're not Chamorro speakers. I don't have anybody like that.
Oh, but it's a good example though of just, you can get help, because the importance though is that if we don't record in Chamorro or perform in Chamorro, then there's not going to be any more new Chamorro music.
I know. Isn't that sad? That's really sad.
It is
very sad.
It is very, very sad. And one thing that I wanted to talk about too, because you mentioned JJ Conception as somebody who was creating his own original music.
Yes.
In Chamorro. But for many Chamorro musicians in the past, they are inspired by, or they translate English songs.
That's correct.
And so it's funny because we were listening to, I was in the car with my kids the other day, and we were listening to Alexandro Sablon.
Okay.
We were listening to the song Pareho Nigap Zan Palgu. Okay. And then my kids were enjoying it, and I was like, hey, in Tingo Magahit na Estion Kantan Elton John. This is an Elton John song. This is the song Nikita by Elton John.
Oh, yeah.
And Kalang Tima Hongidzo, they're like, no, Estion Kantan Elton John, like Kuhungan, Benadandan. I'm gonna play for you the original song.
Okay.
And so, but for many of that generation, it was just important that they were using Chamorro.
Right.
Because if they didn't, then it's okay to take songs in English and then translate them into Chamorro, because we're so used to English songs, and it actually is fun for people to listen to it. Right. So I tell young people, if there's a song that you like from a group today, like maybe you like an Adele song, or
Oh
Coldplay,
yeah. Oh yeah.
or maybe, you like sort of these newer groups, translate it into Chamorro. Have somebody
Yes.
help you translate it, and then try to record it or put it out there, because that's what your parents' generation did. We were talking a little bit earlier about si Joe Timing Low.
Yeah.
That was what he made his start, is taking English popular songs, turning them into Chamorro, and then performing them. Joe and Flows and stuff like that. And so I wanted to hear you talk about that, Senor, because I think, por favor, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. A good example of that for me, my experience is with Marjorie Cruz Richards. Now she sings in the Jigo Church for Mass, I think in the evening. She's a beautiful singer. Marjorie Cruz Richards. When I did her production, she translated 2 of Shania Twain's songs, From This Moment, and I forget the other one, but From This Moment, ba da da da, in Chamorro, and she made it so beautiful. Oh, here's another little thing. I recorded in 1975. I recorded my good friend, best buddy ever, Tony Scrope. I recorded his CD. He wanted to do a Chamorro song, so we did Night and Day. Night and day, you are the one. Da, na, 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 na. So he wanted to do Night and Day, but have it bilingual Chamorro and English. So I had Frank Bokngok Pangilinan translate the English to Chamorro. When Tony sang it, it became Fuengids and Honey, da 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 da. And the way Tony sang it was so beautiful, because the Chamorro words are kind of harsh in their consonants, but he made it sound very almost Polynesian, because Polynesian sort of has a soft L's and R's stuff. So when Tony sang that, that was a beautiful rendition of Night and Day in Chamorro English.
Wow.
But yeah,
wow. I would
and
love
he's
to
not
hear
a
that.
Chamorro singer at all, zero. Okay, but he likes to always recall that up all the time. When he talks about his production with people, about how he sang Night and Day in Chamorro. I'll send you that song later.
Por favor, Senor. Por favor.
Yeah.
And so, Senor, I wanted to thank you so much for joining today. We are just about out of time.
Yes,
And,
thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate it. And I was really getting nervous about doing this, And then, of course, the technology of this all is like, I can, like I said, I can work on any electronic manual for recording and keyboards, but when it comes to my iPhone, I'm a real klutz. Okay. I'm a real Neanderthal.
No, Senor. Gov Maulik, this has been a wonderful conversation, and this has been a wonderful reflection. And so, por favor, show in the comments, give your thanks to Senor Tom for joining us today and for sharing his experiences. And if you'd love to have him come back and other sort of people to fill in the gaps in our knowledge about Chamorro music history, por favor, let me know in the comments. Sidus masi talo, Senor, sa para hamson umeega por umeekungok, sidus masi estigi finakwestin episode finatsu. Adios, esta kimana.
Okay. Adios, danke, sidus masi. Esta later.